I'm JQ. I have an enormous amount of student debt and I'm attempting to pay it off by playing poker. I need to make $125,000 by New Year's Eve 2026. Here's how it's going so far. If you want to stay up to date on the channel, like, subscribe, and hype the video. Previous episodes will be marked in the cards for you. Now let's send it over to Past JQ to go over a session I played on stream toward the end of the year last year. All right, guys, welcome back to the vlog. We're back on the Socially Wild stream. It's a 5-5-10 game. Gonna hope to put a dent in our student debt tonight. Good luck, us. Peace. All right, we are back on stream playing 5-5-10. The last two episodes you guys have seen from here haven't gone so well, but hoping to turn that around today. And early on, we pick up a very nice hand in Ace Queen of Clubs on the button. $10 straddles on, I raised to 30. White Kevin has called the small blind, and General is in the straddle. So we're three ways off to a flop, nearly $100 in there. And it's pretty bad for us. Jack, 7, deuce, two-tone, no backdoor flush draw. We do have the two overcards. It checks on over to us. We're definitely not going to be range betting multi-way, and when mixing, I prefer a flush draw of some sort, so I decided to just check it on back, and we see the flush completing 5 of diamonds on the turn. It pretty quickly checks to me once again. I don't think anyone has a flush when they do this, but I also think if I start bluffing this hand on the turn, we're probably just way overdoing it. We have a ton of offsuit combos with a diamond that'll pick up a flush draw that we can bet, and I'm probably not going to bet as thin as a 7 here. So I knuckle it on back, and we see a pretty good queen of hearts hit the river. We make top pair. When it checks on over to us again, I think our hand is more than good enough to go for value. So I decided to bet $60 into 95. White Kevin has also made top pair. He sticks in the call, so we're scooping in a pretty decent sized pot early on. It's always nice to get off to a hot start in these stream games. Let's keep it rolling. Our next hand of note is hand number 16. General Sao has raised it up from early position with pocket sixes, and we peel pocket jacks in the small blind. The hooks, the jiggities, the J-boys, whatever you call it, we're going to be 3-betting and making it fairly large, going up to $150 to go. General Sao is a ton of action, and he decides to give us some here when he sticks in the call. So we're heads up out of position with over $300 in the middle, and the flop is pretty much as good as you can ask for with pocket jacks. It's 9-4 deuce with 2 hearts and a club. We have the overpair, we have the backdoor flush draw. We're going to be mixing this board in theory, and jacks is a pretty classic hand that we'd like to bet. It benefits pretty nicely from equity denial, and it's more than good enough to bet for value. So I decide to bet a size that's probably a little bit too small. I go for $175. It's just over half pot. I'd like to see myself bet in the ballpark of 2/3, a little bit more, but that's being a bit nitpicky. It doesn't seem to matter though, because after a little bit of thinking, General Sao decides to ship his entire stack in the middle. I, of course, snap call, not going to fold jacks on this board. There's a little discussion about running it once or twice. I tell General that it's up to him, and after a bit, he decides we're going to see 2 runouts in a $2,000 pot, and we just need to hold. Over to you, dealer. The first turn seems clean. I don't love to see the heart on the river, but General's shaking his head, so we feel a little bit more comfortable. A 10 seems clean as a turn on the second board. We don't love the overcard, but General says that we've got it. So I show our pocket jacks, and we're going to be scooping in a very nice pot early on in the stream. Why can't all sessions start like this? We're up nearly $1,000, and we're looking to kick on for more. The game is going to get a little bit more action because the knit game is starting. Rules are on your screen. Last person to win a hand and show has to pay a penalty. And tonight that is $225. Definitely don't want to be on the hook for that. It's still fairly early in the knit game, and we peel pocket sixes from EP. I raise it on up to $40, a little bit bigger because people don't like to fold in the knit game. And the evidence is right here when White Kevin, General Sao, and Promo are all in there. Before we see a flop, I just have one question for Promo. Do you think she cheated? $170 in there, and we see 9-9 deuce rainbow. The flop pretty quickly checks around, and we see the 3 of clubs on the turn. Our hand isn't super strong, but with the knit game, I expect people to be wide, so I expect a lot of flush draws to be out there that we can get some value from. With our particular hand, it's also pretty sweet to deny some equity from 2 random overcards, so I decide to bet for around 40% pot. $80. White Kevin's picked up a 3, but he pretty quickly folds his hand. General Sao has the flush draw we were talking about. He's not going anywhere. Promo gets the alert from the booth that Jack High's no good. He lets his hand go, and we see the 8 of hearts hit the river. Our hand is pretty middling. Don't think there's a lot of value to be had, but we probably could still pick off a bluff from something like Miss Clubs or a number of wheel straight draws. So I decided to check it on over to General Sal, and I'm probably going to call a bet, but after a while he decides to check it on back, and we see the bad news that he's rivered a pair of 8s. Pretty okay with the way we play the hand, a little bit of an unfortunate river. Unfortunately, this means that a couple of hands later, we are going to lose the nit game and have to pay the $225 penalty. It's not the end of the world. You guys have seen a few episodes back that I did punt off thousands of dollars to try and avoid paying $225. Never a good feeling to have to pay, but not the worst outcome either. So we pay our $225 and we move on. We pick our next hand up at hand 46. The nit game has loosened the table up quite a bit, so much so that Kravitz has put the $10 straddle on, Promo has put the $20 straddle on, a lunatic in the one seat has thrown on the 40, and White Kevin to my left, who is a bigger lunatic, has thrown on the $80 straddle. That means that there is $160 of dead money in the pot before we've even been dealt cards. It would be a very nice time to wake up with a very nice hand. It seems like most everyone has dust, though, as it folds around to Promo in the 20, and he's going to take a shot at winning that dead money when he raises King 3 offsuit to $225. We peel a ridiculously good hand for a ridiculous amount of straddles. We have pocket 9s in the 40. There's $1 of dead money in there for every day of the year, so I decide that I'm going to move my entire stack in. If we get called, that's great. We're going to be ahead of a lot of hands, if not flipping. And I don't mind just taking down $365 of dead money either. It seems like Promo has been caught with his hand in the cookie jar here. I like the raise on his part, but not much he can do when I wake up with such a nice hand. He has to let his cards go. It's not a significant pot in terms of making big decisions, but we are taking down quite a bit of money, building our stack back in the right direction. We pick up the action next on hand 49 of the stream. Bieber has raised in the cutoff. Kravitz has called the button. Promo has a Pampers coupon in the small blind, and we peel a very nice looking suited one gapper in the big blind and decide to defend as well. We're going 4 ways off to a flop with $80 in the middle, and it's pretty good for us. We make top pair on 9-7 deuce two-tone. Decide to check in flow, and it pretty quickly checks around. Turn is the 5 of diamonds, and I decide to bet now for $40 into 80, around half pot. Kravitz has turned an open-ended straight draw, so he decides to put in the call. So it's down to heads up, and we see the river 8 of spades roll off. It brings it the one lighter to a 6. It seems pretty thin to bet my hand at this point. Plus, Kravitz just told me that he likes the river, so I decided to check it on over to him. And Kravitz lays the hammer down with the overbet for $200. I am mic'd up, and Kravitz says he's curious to hear my thought process. I'm happy to oblige, so I'll turn it over to my live in-game thought process so you guys can see what I was thinking.
I dare you.
I kind of believe when you said that you needed the 8. I kind of believe you. I don't know. I was going to say, like, turn my hand into a bluff, but you don't fold, so it's, like, hard.
You can hear I was thinking about turning my hand into a bluff, trying to represent Jack 10, but I just think that that's a little bit too fancy. And I think we'll just have plenty better hands to call with, like flush draws with a 6 that make a straight, Jack 10 of clubs. And we also have some stronger top pairs to bluff catch also if we feel we need to dip into those. So after a while, probably a little bit too long, we come to the correct decision.
You think Dable's farted in the morning?
Look at Mark, show bluff.
Yeah, should be. Should be.
Oh, you should have been
He's got
part
no
of him.
tournament. Money is meaningless to him.
Exactly.
Nice hand.
Thank you. And he's confident.
So losing a decent sized pot, but fairly happy we didn't pay off on the river. A few hands later, General Sal has raised it up again from fairly early position. Promo's called the small blind, and we peel ace-queen offsuit in the big blind. This is one of those hands that you can definitely 3-bet, but we do want some strong aces in our calling range occasionally, so that an aggressive player like General can't just unload the clip on us on an ace-high board. So I decided to mix in the tricky flat here. We're 3 ways off to see a pretty good flop of ace 10-6 two-tone. We have top pair with the best kicker we'll ever have. Still, I decide to check it in flow, and General decides to bet $15 into 60, around a quarter of the pot. General Sal has used a small size here on the flop, so we're going to want to check raise and attack that size fairly often when we have hands like club draws or some gut shots. And I don't think we're going to have enough 2 pairs and sets to only raise those kinds of hands. Plus, we have top pair with a very good kicker. We can definitely raise for value and get called by some worse hands. So I decide to bust out the check raise up to $75. We can see General just has third pair, so he can't really do much. He pretty quickly folds. This does probably mean that we're printing when we check raise a hand like 7-8 of spades or Queen 9 of clubs. But as played, we had the best of it, and we'll take the pot and move on. We pick up our next hand on hand 63 of the stream. The nit game is back on, and so is the $20 straddle. I've raised it up with ace-10 offsuit to $60. I could probably go a little bit bigger because of the nit game. Kravitz has called in the $10 straddle, and Promo has called in the $20 straddle. Three ways off to a flop with almost $200 in the middle, and it comes Queen 8-5 two-tone. It checks over to us. We have pretty much a complete airball. Betting this here would be a crazy overbluff in my opinion, so I decided to just check it on back, and we see the board pairing Queen of Diamonds on the turn. Actually a fairly good card for us, reduces the combos of top pair our opponents can have, but Kravitz now decides to lead for $75. It's not a very big bet. I think he may get a little bit greedier if he had a queen, so I think he's just going to have a lot of flush draws when he bets this size. I think the correct play is to fold, but I decide to get a little bit sticky and stick in the $75. I'm planning to call across most bricks, and that's what we get when the 3 of diamonds peels off. Kravitz is going to continue betting, and he chooses a size of $125. It's around 40% the size of the pot again. We saw him get a bit greedier with the overbet earlier when he had some thick value with his straight, so I don't think he's all that strong when he chooses this size. We're also getting a fairly good price, and if he's going to bluff some missed spades, then I think we do win fairly often if we call here. With that being said though, I think identifying that he's not top of range when he picks this size means that we could probably just blow him up and shove on him here, which I think is probably the better play. But in game, I decide to stick in the call. Yeah, I don't really love this. Probably just $200 we didn't have to lose here, because we see that Kravitz was going for some thin value with second pair. So we identified that he did have a lot of spade draws, but unfortunately he has the pair to go along with it this time. Curious to see whether it would have worked if we had gone all in. We do have a nit button in front of us, and people don't love to fold when we have one of those. Either way, nit game causing us to be a little bit sticky and a little bit loose. Not super proud about this one, but no time to hang my head, because in the nit game, a big pot can happen out of nowhere at any time. And there's no time like the present, because in the very next shuffle, we still have our nit button. We are first to act with the $10 straddle on, and we peel pocket fours. I raise it on up to $30 before White Kevin peels pocket queens. He, of course, puts in the 3-bet up to $160. It's a pretty large size, but the nit game is on. We're also not always going to be opening these low pairs from early position, but when we do, it's important that we are defending them because we want some nut exclusivity on some lower boards. Nerd talk aside, we're playing the nit game, and a wise man once told me if you flop a set in the nit game, you'll become a millionaire. So I decide to pay my respects to Joe Fish and flick in the call. There's $340 in the middle, and I'd like you guys to pause the video right now, go down, like, subscribe, and hype this video for some extra run good because we're going to need it. You guys ready? The flop is 10-5-4 with 2 diamonds. We smash bottom set. It seems like enough of you guys came through with the likes, subs, and hypes. I deeply appreciate it because we are sitting here with the effective nuts, and White Kevin is not slowing down at all as he bets $225. I think we could move all in now, try and rep the flush draw, but we are in the nit game. Kev is so incentivized to bluff that I'd like to give him some rope. The pot is also so big that I'm still going to pay off if the flush gets there, so there's pretty much no turns in the deck that I'm not going to go broke on. $800 in the middle, $700 left in our stack, and the turn is the 8 of hearts. I check it on over to Kevin. He puts me all in. I snap call and show him the bad news. We have 1 out to fade in a $2,200 pot. The river has some paint on it, but it's the king of clubs. We're scooping in a massive one and getting rid of our nit button to boot. We're not quite a millionaire yet, but it's a good start. We had lost some from the high point, but we're back up to being in profit about $1,000 on the night, and we're still playing. About 10 hands later, we're back in the mix. Shooter has limped the cutoff, and Bieber is going to ISO the button with pocket nines up to $50. Kravitz and Promo are both in there, and we peel a beautiful looking ace-king offsuit in the $10 straddle. There's a lot of dead money out there, so I'm going to make it fairly chunky. I put in the 3-bet up to $350. We're looking to put a lot of pressure on the exact kind of hand class that Bieber has, these middling pocket pairs. Bieber does love to get in there though, and pocket nine's probably just a little bit too strong. He looks uncomfortable, but eventually he sticks in the call. It's down to heads up over $800 in the middle, and we're playing fairly deep. And we see a pretty decent flop of Queen, Queen 8 rainbow. I say it's pretty decent because in these 3-bet pots, on Queen high boards, Ace King becomes pretty much the nut bluffing combo. We have very good blockers to all of Bieber's strongest Queen X, like Ace Queen and King Queen. It's a little bit subtle. I would prefer to have the mismatching suits with the King of Hearts so I could block King, Queen of Hearts. But you can't always have the perfect blockers in every spot, and I think our hand is pretty good to continue betting. I choose a small size of $200 into $800, and Bieber thinks for a bit before sticking in the call. About $1,200 in the middle, and we see the deuce of clubs peel. I've made up my mind that I'm going to be emptying the clip here, so now it's just a question of taking a line with the most fold equity. We have about $1,600 left with $1,200 in the middle. I consider moving all in now and trying to put max pressure on a hand like he has, but if I shove here, I'm pretty much only representing a queen or better. And that's a pretty thin value range. I'm fairly certain he has a hand like the one he has, 9s through jacks. So I want to tell the story that I could still be betting aces and kings for value here. We usually want our bluffs to mirror our value in some way. So when we have a hand like ace-king that mirrors aces and kings, we'd like to choose a bluff size that mirrors the value size we would take with those hands if we actually had them. So I decide on a smaller size of 400 into 1200. A third pot. This would leave me with $1,200 to shove into about $2,000 if he decided to call. And luckily for us on this occasion, our bet on the turn is just going to get the job done. Bieber asks us to show our cards. I oblige because he's going to see it later on anyways.
Oh my god.
Such
you
a
just
nit.
got, you
Such a
fucking just got
nit.
bluffed by the
For
computer.
250?
You got bluffed by the
What was
computer.
his turn back?
400.
Oh, it was 400.
Thank you.
Let me know what you guys think of that nickname down in the comments, the computer. I kind of like it. We get one through, and we're nearing the $2,000 profit mark. Our next hand is hand 78 of the stream. The Nick game is back on, and Shooter McGavin is waking up with the best of it, pocket aces from early position. $10 straddle is on. He raises it up to $30, and unfortunately for us, we peel a pretty good hand ourselves on the button. It's usually a pretty nice feeling waking up with two 10s, but we're going to have a little bit of regret here as I 3-bet fairly large Nit game shenanigans and all, up to $150. And I pretty much know the jig is up right away when Larry starts reaching for some more chips. He's going to bust out the 4-bet up to $430. I play with Larry a lot. I know this is a pretty strong move, but we are in the Nit game. And while I don't necessarily think that he's going to be getting out of line because of that, it does mean if we can flop another set, we will be a millionaire. The other issue too is that we're playing so deep, so I think we actually have some decent odds to set mine here in position. And I think we'll just pretty easily be able to get it to showdown when Larry has a hand like ace-king. So I decided to stick in the call, $880 in the middle, about $1,600 in our stack, and we see a pretty gross flop of king 7-5 rainbow. We're now behind every hand that I think Larry is going to 4-bet, and we are definitely behind when Larry decides to shove his stack in for $1,600. We snap fold. I've wasted enough time tanking this stream already, and Larry confirms to us what we already knew, that he had a very strong hand. A little bit annoying that I don't think I can fold given the circumstances of how deep we are in the Nit game dynamic, but maybe those are just excuses for me being a little bit undisciplined here. No time to mope though from that last hand because we still have to get rid of our Nit button. No straddle on for this hand, but there has been a couple of limps, and I'm not messing around. We're in the cutoff with ace-king suited. It may look like we're a little steamed up from the last hand. Plus, we do still have to get rid of our Nit button, so I decide to go massive, raising it up to $100. Unfortunately, no one really has a hand to play back at us. They all fold, so we're scooping in the $20 in the middle. But more importantly, we are free of the $220 Nit tax. This would be the last hand we played on camera, but we do still have a pretty big one to play after the stream's over. Unfortunately, no footage of this hand because it happened right after the stream ended, but I'll get you caught up because we're playing 5, 5, 10, $2,500 effective. We've raised king 10 of diamonds up in the hijack to $30. The button has put in the 3-bet up to $105. The straddle's put in the cold call, and we're coming along for the ride as well. 3 ways off to a flop with $325 in the middle, and it's pretty good for us. It's 7-6 deuce with 2 diamonds. We have 2 overs and the second nut flush draw. Straddler checks, I check as well. The button is going to continue betting for $115. The straddle gets out of the way and I put in the call. Heads up to a turn with $575 in the middle, and we get the Gin card, the Ace of Diamonds. We bink the nuts, and better yet, our opponent is not done betting because when I check it over to them, they bet out for $315. We're pretty deep. I have the nuts. I want to play for all the money, so I decide to put in a check raise right here, right now, up to $900. I'm hoping the button sticks around, but they do one better because after 2 minutes of taking, the button decides to stick it all in for $2,200. I, of course, snap call and turn over my hand. The button has ace-king offsuit and is drawing dead in this over $5,000 pot. What a way to end the night. We'd play for a few more hours after that, but nothing important would happen. Results will be on your screen now. Booking a profit of nearly $3,000. Not a bad night.